Harrison Caldwell's hands trembled as he gripped the steering wheel, staring at the dashboard that refused to light up. 2 in the morning. Empty parking garage. Dead phone battery. Dead car battery. And somewhere in the darkness of his collapsing empire, enemies circled like sharks smelling blood in the water. He slammed his fist against the wheel, the sound echoing off concrete walls. For $0.3 billion to his name, and he couldn't even get his damn car to start. The board meeting replayed in his mind like a nightmare he couldn't escape. 7 hours of verbal combat. 7 hours of watching men he'd enriched turn their backs on him. Derek Wu's takeover wasn't just gaining momentum anymore. It was inevitable. Mr. Caldwell? Harrison's head snapped toward the voice. Luis Moreno stood at the edge of the shadows, his security uniform crisp despite the late hour, concern etched across weathered features. Car trouble? Luis asked, stepping closer. It's fine. I'll handle it. Harrison pulled out his phone, then remembered. Dead. Everything was dead. His car. His phone. His company. Maybe even his will to fight. Sir, I can give you a ride. I'm just finishing my shift. I don't need. Harrison stopped himself. Pride was expensive, and right now he couldn't afford it. Fine. Thank you. 12 years. 12 years of walking past this man, like he was part of the furniture. Harrison didn't even know his name until he read it on the security badge glinting under the garage lights. They walked in silence to an old Honda Civic that had seen better decades. But when Luis unlocked it, Harrison noticed something surprising. The interior was immaculate. Everything had its place. A rosary hung from the rearview mirror, and the faint scent of coffee and vanilla filled the air. Address? Luis asked, starting the engine. Harrison rattled off his penthouse address in Tribeca. Luis nodded and pulled out of the garage. The city scrolled past the windows, still alive even at this ungodly hour. Taxis prowled the streets. Late-night workers stumbled towards subway stations. The world kept turning, indifferent to Harrison's crisis. I've worked at Caldwell Industries for 12 years, Luis said suddenly, his voice cutting through the silence. Harrison glanced at him, unsure how to respond. In that time, I've watched a lot of people come and go through those doors. Executives, employees, delivery workers, cleaning staff. Luis kept his eyes on the road. You know what I've learned? What? Harrison heard himself ask, though he wasn't sure why he was engaging. Everyone's carrying something heavy. Everyone's fighting battles nobody else can see. Luis paused at a red light, finally turning to look at Harrison. Mr. Caldwell, in all these years, I have to ask you something. Are you happy? The question hit Harrison like a physical blow. His mouth opened, then closed. Heat rose to his face, part anger, part something else he couldn't identify. That's an inappropriate question, Harrison said, his voice tight. I apologize, Luis said, but he didn't look away. It's just that I've watched you for 12 years. You've built an empire that changed the world. You've created technology that helps millions of people. But you walk through those doors every single day like a man carrying the weight of the world alone. And I wonder, when was the last time someone asked you about your happiness instead of your profits? Harrison's throat constricted. He stared out the window, watching buildings blur past. When was the last time? He couldn't remember. Benjamin asked about quarterly earnings. Olivia asked about his schedule. Board members asked about stock prices. Reporters asked about market disruption. But happiness? I don't have time for happiness, Harrison finally said. I have a company to run. Employees who depend on me. Shareholders who expect returns. And who do you depend on? Luis asked softly. The question lingered in the air between them, unanswered and unanswerable. They drove in silence for several more blocks. Harrison found himself studying Luis in the peripheral vision. The man had to be in his 50s, maybe early 60s. Lines creased his face, the kind earned through decades of smiling. His hands on the wheel were steady, calloused. Working hands. I came to this country when I was 19, Luis said, as if sensing Harrison's curiosity. Had $47 in my pocket and couldn't speak English. Worked 3 jobs, sent money home to my mother in El Salvador. Met my wife Maria at a church dinner. She was a nurse. We had one daughter, Sophia. Harrison noticed the past tense. Was. Maria died 5 years ago. Cancer. Luis's voice remained steady, but Harrison saw his grip tighten on the wheel. We had 32 years together. Some people never get that. I consider myself blessed. I'm sorry for your loss, Harrison said, and meant it. Thank you. Luis smiled, a genuine expression that transformed his face. Sophia's in medical school now. Pre-med at Columbia. Wants to be a doctor like the ones who cared for her mother. She's brilliant, that girl. Smarter than her old man ever was. You must be proud. Every single day. Luis pulled up to Harrison's building, the doorman already moving toward the car. Mr. Caldwell, can I tell you something? I have very little money. I work security for barely above minimum wage. I live in a rent-controlled apartment in Queens that's smaller than your office. But I'm rich in ways that matter. I have my daughter. I have my faith. I have people in my life who care about me, not about what I can do for them. The doorman opened Harrison's door. Harrison stepped out, then hesitated. He bent down to look at Luis through the open door. Why are you telling me this? Because in 12 years, tonight is the first time I've seen you look like a person instead of a machine. Luis reached into his wallet and pulled out a card. This has my cell number. If you ever want to talk, not about business, just talk, call me. Harrison took the card, studied it. Plain white cardstock with a phone number written in neat handwriting. No title. No company logo. Just a number. Thank you for the ride, Luis. Anytime, Mr. Caldwell. I hope you find what you're looking for. Harrison watched the old Honda pull away, then stood on the sidewalk for a long moment, turning the card over in his fingers. The doorman cleared his throat. Mr. Caldwell? Are you all right, sir? Yeah, Harrison said, pocketing the card. Yeah, I'm fine. But as he rode the elevator to his penthouse, Harrison knew that was a lie. The doors opened to 3,500 square feet of luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. Custom furniture. Original artwork. A kitchen he never used. A dining table where he never hosted dinner. Rooms that echoed with emptiness. Harrison poured himself 3 fingers of scotch, stood at the window, and stared at the city lights. Luis's question echoed in his mind. Are you happy? He couldn't remember the last time he'd felt true joy. Satisfaction, yes. The rush of closing a deal. The pride of seeing his company's stock price soar. But happiness? That seemed like something from another lifetime, something he'd sacrificed on the altar of success. His phone charged on the counter, coming back to life with a series of beeps. 43 missed calls. 67 unread emails. All of them problems demanding his attention. Harrison ignored them all and pulled out Luis's card again. What kind of man gives his personal number to a stranger? What kind of man sees someone after 12 years of being invisible and still offers kindness? Harrison didn't sleep that night. He sat in his empty penthouse, watching the sun rise over the city, thinking about a security guard in an old Honda who had everything that mattered and a billionaire with nothing at all. The next morning, Harrison arrived at Caldwell Industries at 6:30, 90 minutes earlier than usual. The lobby was quiet, early morning light streaming through glass walls. And there was Luis, standing at his post, greeting the cleaning crew with warm smiles and questions about their families. Good morning, Mr. Caldwell, Luis said, genuine surprise in his voice. You're here early. Couldn't sleep, Harrison admitted. He paused, something he'd never done before. Luis, about last night. Thank you. Not just for the ride. For the conversation. Of course, sir. Can I ask you something? Harrison glanced around the empty lobby. How long have you been working double shifts? Luis's eyes widened slightly. How did you know? You were here when I left at 2 a.m. and you're here now at 6:30. That's not a regular shift. Luis smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. Sophia's tuition is expensive. Medical school isn't cheap. I pick up extra shifts when I can. Harrison nodded slowly. I see. He wanted to say more, but Olivia Hartley burst through the revolving doors, tablet in hand, her expression grim. Harrison, we need to talk. Now. Harrison glanced at Luis, who gave him an encouraging nod, then followed Olivia to the elevator. As the doors closed, he saw Luis return to his post, greeting an arriving employee with the same warmth he'd shown everyone else. In his office, Olivia didn't waste time. Derek Wu accelerated his timeline. He's calling for an emergency shareholder vote in 72 hours. If he gets majority support, you're out. How's that possible? We have safeguards. Someone leaked our Q4 projections. They're worse than we anticipated. The board is panicking. Olivia set her tablet down, her expression softening. Harrison, I need to be honest with you. You're losing because people don't trust you anymore. Not because of your business acumen, but because you've spent a decade treating this company like a machine instead of a community. Employees don't feel valued. Mid-level management feels invisible. You've been so focused on growth that you forgot about the people creating that growth. The words stung because they were true. Harrison sank into his chair. What do I do? I don't know, Olivia admitted. But whatever it is, you need to do it fast. The next 48 hours blurred together. Emergency meetings with Benjamin Cross, his attorney, who confirmed the dire situation. Conference calls with board members who'd already made up their minds. Benjamin was his oldest friend, the only person who'd stuck with him since college, and even he looked worried. You need a miracle, Harrison, Benjamin said, loosening his tie. Derek Wu has been planning this for months. He's got 3 board members in his pocket, maybe 4. The leak about Q4 wasn't random. Someone inside your company is feeding him information. Who? I don't know. But whoever it is has access to sensitive documents. Harrison thought about Luis's question. Who do you depend on? The answer was becoming painfully clear. No one. He'd built his empire in isolation, and now it was crumbling with no one to help hold it together. Late on the second night, Harrison found himself back in the parking garage. His car had been towed for repairs. He stood there, remembering Luis's kindness, and pulled out his phone. The call rang 3 times before Luis answered. Hello. Luis, it's Harrison Caldwell. I'm sorry to call so late. Mr. Caldwell, is everything all right? No, Harrison said, surprised by his own honesty. No, everything's falling apart. My company, my life, everything I've built. And I realized I don't have anyone to talk to about it. Benjamin's my lawyer, but he's trying to save the company legally. Olivia's my assistant. The board wants me gone. And I thought about what you said, about having people who care about you, not what you can do for them. Silence on the other end. Then, where are you? The parking garage at Caldwell Industries. Stay there. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Luis arrived in 18 minutes. He found Harrison sitting on a concrete barrier, staring at nothing. Without a word, Luis sat down beside him. Tell me what happened, Luis said. And Harrison did. He told Luis everything. The hostile takeover. The leaked documents. The board members turning against him. Derek Wu's systematic destruction of everything Harrison had built. The words poured out like water from a broken dam, 12 years of isolation and pressure finally finding release. Luis listened without interrupting. When Harrison finally fell silent, exhausted, Luis said, Can I tell you what I see? Please. I see a man who's brilliant at building things, but forgot to build relationships. I see someone who's so afraid of depending on others that he's made himself an island. Luis turned to face Harrison. You asked me last night why I was telling you about my life. The truth is, I've been watching you for 12 years, and every year you've looked more alone. I kept hoping someone would reach out to you. When no one did, I realized maybe I should. Why? I've ignored you for over a decade. I didn't even know your name until last night. Because everyone deserves to be seen, Mr. Caldwell. Everyone deserves to matter. Luis smiled. And because I believe people can change. You just need a reason to. Harrison felt something crack inside his chest. I don't know how to fix this. Maybe you're trying to fix the wrong thing. You're trying to save your company. But what if you need to save yourself first? I don't understand. In my job, I watch people every day. I see things others don't because I pay attention. Luis pulled out a small notebook from his jacket pocket. I keep notes. Not anything invasive, just observations. things that seem important. He flipped through pages covered in neat handwriting. 3 weeks ago, I saw that woman, Natasha Volkov. She signed in to meet with Derek Wu. But I also saw her photographing documents in the fourth-floor conference room when she thought no one was looking. I wrote down the time, the date, what she was wearing. Harrison's head snapped up. Natasha Volkov? The venture capitalist? I don't know who she is professionally. But I know she's been in your building 6 times in the last month, always meeting with Derek Wu, and twice I've seen her accessing areas she shouldn't have access to. Luis, this is important. Do you still have those notes? Every single one. Luis handed him the notebook. I figured if something seemed wrong, someone might need them eventually. Harrison flipped through the pages, his mind racing. Here was evidence of corporate espionage, documented by a security guard who nobody paid attention to. The invisible man who saw everything. Luis, can I ask you something personal? Of course. When your wife died, how did you keep going? Luis was quiet for a moment. I had Sophia. I had my faith. But mostly, I had people who reminded me that life was still worth living. My church community brought me food for months. My coworkers covered my shifts when I needed to grieve. A neighbor I barely knew drove Sophia to school every day for a year. He looked at Harrison. We're not meant to do this alone, Mr. Caldwell. Any of it. Success, failure, grief, joy. It's all meant to be shared. Harrison felt tears prick his eyes, something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. I don't know how. Then learn. Start small. Start by seeing the people around you. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Stories like this take time to research and create, and your support means everything. Now, let's see what Harrison does next. The next morning, Harrison called an emergency meeting with his security team. Luis was there, standing with 4 other guards who looked confused about why the CEO wanted to talk to them. Gentlemen, Harrison said, I need your help. Someone has been leaking confidential information from this building. I believe it's connected to corporate espionage. He looked at Luis. Luis has documented evidence of suspicious activity. I need to know everything you've seen, no matter how small it seems. For the next 2 hours, the security team shared observations. Marcus, the night guard, had noticed certain executives staying late, accessing servers they normally didn't touch. Rachel, who worked the side entrance, had seen board member Thomas Whitaker meeting with Derek Wu at a coffee shop across the street. Every detail painted a clearer picture. Why didn't you report this before? Harrison asked. Marcus shrugged. Who would we report it to? And honestly, sir, most people don't think security guards notice anything. We're invisible unless there's a problem. The word hit Harrison hard. Invisible. That's what he'd made them. That's what he'd made Luis. That changes now, Harrison said. From this moment forward, I want weekly reports from security. Not just incidents, but observations. You're my eyes and ears in this building, and I've been an idiot for not realizing that sooner. Luis caught his eye and smiled. Harrison spent the rest of the day doing something he'd never done before. He walked through every floor of Caldwell Industries, not for inspections or oversight, but to talk to people. He learned that Jennifer in accounting was putting her son through college. That Marcus from security coached youth basketball on weekends. That the cleaning crew supervisor, Maria Elena, was studying for her citizenship test. He learned their names, their stories, their lives beyond the roles they played in his company. And something shifted inside him. Each conversation chipped away at the isolation he'd built around himself. Each smile, each moment of genuine connection, reminded him why he'd started this company in the first place. Not to accumulate wealth, but to solve problems. To help people. That evening, Harrison met with Catherine Reynolds, the investigative journalist who'd been trying to reach him for weeks. In his office, with Benjamin present, she laid out evidence of Derek Wu's illegal activities. Bribery. Market manipulation. Fraud. Why are you giving this to me? Harrison asked. Because Derek Wu destroys companies and throws people out of work to make a quick profit. I've been investigating him for 2 years. Catherine leaned forward. You have a chance to stop him, Mr. Caldwell. But you need to do it at the shareholder meeting tomorrow. Publicly. With evidence. I have evidence now, Harrison said, holding up Louis's notebook. Thanks to someone I should have been paying attention to all along. The emergency shareholder meeting took place in Caldwell Industries' largest conference room. 200 people crammed in, including board members, major shareholders, media, and employees. Derek Wu sat in the front row, confident and smiling. He had every reason to be. The votes were in his favor. Harrison stood at the podium, looking out at the faces staring back at him. For the first time in his career, he wasn't thinking about stock prices or quarterly earnings. He was thinking about Louis, who'd shown him what it meant to be rich in the things that mattered. Ladies and gentlemen, Harrison began, I'm going to do something unusual today. Before we vote, I want to tell you a story. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Derek Wu's smile faltered. 12 years ago, a man started working as a security guard in this building. His name is Luis Moreno. For 12 years, I walked past him every single day without acknowledging his existence. I didn't know his name. I didn't know he had a daughter. I didn't know he'd lost his wife to cancer or that he worked double shifts to pay for medical school tuition. I didn't know that he volunteered at homeless shelters or that he greeted every single person in this building with genuine kindness. Harrison paused, finding Louis standing at the back of the room. 2 nights ago, my car broke down. Louis gave me a ride home. And he asked me a question that changed everything. He asked me if I was happy. Harrison's voice cracked slightly. I couldn't answer him. Because the truth is, I'd built a $4 billion company, but I'd lost myself in the process. I'd forgotten that businesses aren't just about profits. They're about people. This is ridiculous, Derek Wu interrupted, standing. We're here to vote, not listen to motivational speeches. Sit down, Mr. Wu, Harrison said coldly. I'm not finished. He nodded to Benjamin, who activated the screen behind him. Security footage appeared, showing Natasha Volkov photographing confidential documents. For months, someone has been feeding you insider information, Derek. Corporate espionage that you used to plan this takeover. You bribed board members. You manipulated stock prices. And you thought no one was watching. More footage played. Natasha meeting with Derek. Thomas Whitaker, a board member, accepting an envelope. Phone records. Bank transfers. Every piece of evidence Catherine had gathered, combined with Louis's meticulous observations. But someone was watching, Harrison continued. Louis was watching. Because unlike me, he pays attention to people. He sees them. And he documented everything. The room erupted. Derek Wu was shouting. Board members were on their phones. Media representatives scrambled to capture the chaos. Harrison raised his hand for silence. The authorities have this evidence. Derek Wu and his associates will face charges. But that's not why I'm showing you this. He stepped away from the podium, no notes, no script, just speaking from his heart. I'm showing you this because I was wrong. I thought success meant standing alone at the top. I thought leadership meant making all the decisions myself. I thought the only thing that mattered was growth and profits. But Louis taught me that a company is only as strong as the people who make it work. And I've spent 12 years ignoring those people. Harrison looked directly at his employees scattered throughout the room. If you vote me out today, I'll understand. I probably deserve it. But if you give me another chance, I promise things will change. Starting today, we're implementing profit sharing for all employees. We're creating a wellness program. We're establishing a scholarship fund for employees' children, named after Louis's wife, Maria. His voice grew stronger. We're going to remember that every person in this company matters. From the CEO to the cleaning crew, we're all in this together. The silence was deafening. Then, from the back of the room, someone started clapping. It was Louis, tears streaming down his weathered face. One by one, employees stood and joined him. The applause built, growing louder until the entire room was on its feet. Everyone except Derek Wu, who was being escorted out by security guards with grim expressions. The vote wasn't even close. Harrison retained control of his company with 87% support. But more importantly, he'd gained something he'd lost years ago. Purpose. Connection. Hope. After the meeting, as people filtered out, Luis approached the podium. Harrison met him halfway and, without hesitation, pulled him into a hug. "Thank you," Harrison whispered. "Thank you for seeing me when I'd made myself invisible." "You were never invisible, Mr. Caldwell," Luis said, pulling back with a smile. "You just needed someone to remind you that you're human." "Harrison. Please call me Harrison." "Harrison." Luis tested the name, then nodded. "I like it. It suits you better than Mr. Caldwell anyway." Olivia approached, her eyes red from crying. "That was beautiful, Harrison. I've worked for you for 8 years, and that's the first time I felt like I actually knew you." "I'm sorry it took so long," Harrison said. "For all of you." Benjamin clapped him on the shoulder. "You did good, buddy. Maria would be proud." Maria. Harrison realized he'd never asked Benjamin about his personal life either. "How's Maria?" Benjamin blinked in surprise. "She's good. Pregnant with our second." I didn't think you knew her name." "I didn't," Harrison admitted. "But I'd like to, if you'll tell me." Over the next few weeks, Harrison's transformation became the subject of business journals and think pieces. But the real changes happened in smaller moments. Morning conversations with Luis about Sophia's latest medical school triumph. Coffee with Olivia where they talked about her dreams of writing a novel. Dinners with Benjamin and Maria, building a friendship that should have existed all along. Harrison still worked hard. He still made tough business decisions. But now he did it with a team he actually knew. With people he cared about and who cared about him back. 3 months after that pivotal shareholder meeting, Harrison stood in the lobby early one morning. Luis was at his post, greeting the first wave of employees. "Good morning, Luis," Harrison said. "How's Sophia?" "She's wonderful. Just aced her pharmacology exam. She wanted me to thank you again for the scholarship." "She earned it. I just made sure money wasn't an obstacle." Harrison paused. "Luis, can I ask you that question again?" "Which question? Are you happy?" Luis smiled, that same warm expression that transformed his entire face. "Every single day, Harrison. Every single day." "Good," Harrison said. "So am I." They stood together in the morning light, the billionaire and the security guard, proof that the most important things in life couldn't be bought or sold. They had to be built, one genuine connection at a time. As employees streamed through the doors, Harrison greeted them by name, asked about their families, listened to their stories. And for the first time in 12 years, he wasn't standing alone at the top of his empire. He was standing among friends. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below about a time someone saw you when you felt invisible, or when you took the time to really see someone else. These stories matter because they remind us what it means to be human in a world that often tells us to be machines. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that challenge us to be better, to see more clearly, and to remember that success without connection is just another form of poverty. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the most important people in our lives are the ones we've been walking past all along.